What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday, and it is officially NFL cutdown day for the Tennessee Titans and all the other 31 NFL teams. They've got to get down to 53 men on the active roster by 3 p.m. Central Time. The Titans made 10 transactions yesterday on Monday, including the trade of backup quarterback Malik Willis to the Green Bay Packers for a 7th-round pick in 2025. So now the Tennessee Titans have 28 more cuts that they have to make because they had 38 to go, 28 more decisions to make on the roster by 3 p.m. Central Time. But we're going to spend the most of the morning show today discussing the Malik Willis trade because we've talked about the third quarterback on the Titans roster quite a bit over the last several months and also the last 3 years. So we're going to have a big conversation and probably one of the final conversations about Malik Willis here on A to Z Sports Nashville as we all look to move forward with the Titans quarterback room without Malik Willis. But we're going to talk about the failed experiment in Tennessee with the Titans and how much is Malik Willis to blame? Who is to blame the most on this? Because I'm not blaming Malik Willis the most. I don't think, Jack, you are either. For this, but we will discuss who is most to blame for the failed Malik Willis Titans quarterback experiment now that it is over and he is a Jordan Love backup quarterback. So Jack, welcome in. Going to have a good show here on this Tuesday. And after we talk Malik, we'll talk about expecting what's the biggest surprise that we might get with Titans cuts later today and then throwing shade to wrap up the Tuesday. So let's dive in and get everything rocking and rolling.
Man, I can't believe we're here. Cut down day, finally. It's going to be chaos today, people. So be plugged into A to Z Sports across all social media platforms. We'll start on Facebook this morning. If you guys are watching on Facebook, which I know most of you guys are, please like the show on the way in. It's going to be a fun one today. We're going to get some closure on Malik Willis. We're going to talk about some surprises that we might see later on in the day. So please like the show on the way in. Also share the show. There's a lot of Titans fans out there that need to be informed today. They need to know what the 53 man is going to look like. In order for that to happen, please share the show to at least one of your Titans Facebook groups. We're going to get everybody in here and take the temperature of the entire Titans fan base. Please like the show, share the show on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, tap that bell icon near the top of your screen and turn those notifications on. You do not want to miss a thing. We've got boots on the ground. We're plugged in all over the place. Tap in on A to Z Sports YouTube page. Turn those notifications on. Don't miss an update today. Finally, if you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link around to your Titans text groups. If you're heading into the office today, y'all are talking about who might get cut, who's going to get left off this roster. Send the show link over there to them if they need to wake up at work or they're getting ready to get off work. Let's start their day or in their morning with A to Z Sports on Twitch. So text that Twitch link around to your Titans text groups. And guys, once we get all of our homework done, it's time to start the Cut Down Day show. Austin, let's get it rolling.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome in the A to Z Sports, powered, as always, by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry, the Tighten Up Podcast, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show, segment by segment, on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, and you can lower your rate and get a better coverage plan for you with our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So the news of Monday was not the fact that the Titans waived 7 guys from the roster and then waived 2 others injured, including Tay Gowan, who Sam said yesterday was getting put in timeout for putting his hands on other receivers too much by Denard Wilson. So the cornerback gone from the Titans roster with a total of 8 other guys. But then the big transaction that was shaking the NFL news was the Titans trading third quarterback Malik Willis to the Green Bay Packers in exchange for a 2025 7th-round draft pick, per sources Adam Schefter, and then adding Willis is likely to be the backup to Jordan Love. Now, the Packers also had 2 other quarterbacks on the roster, Sean Clifford and then Clayton Tune, who came out of Tulane. And so, actually, no, Houston. is where I can't remember. I get the Houston.
Clayton Tune is in Arizona. Mm-hmm.
So who is the who the heck is
it was
the
Sean Clifford? Remember?
No, but there was who's the Tulane quarterback? Now I'm confusing my backup quarterbacks that played at smaller schools.
Pratt.
Yeah, Pratt. Michael Pratt. Thank you, Michael Pratt. So Michael Pratt and Sean Clifford. But if you woke up in the middle of the night, you saw that the Packers let Sean Clifford go. So now it's Malik Willis and Michael Pratt from Tulane now as the backups to Jordan Love in Green Bay. The irony is that the Packers come back to Nashville in week 3. And so Malik Willis will be in Nissan Stadium 1 week after the Titans will be back in Nissan Stadium in week 3. So Jack, what was your initial reaction to just the news in general? There's the fact that Malik Willis got traded. What went through your mind yesterday afternoon?
Well, you kind of get to finally close that book, right? And in Malik Willis, I thought his best game that he ever played in a Titans uniform came against the Saints. Well, he was able to lead that team to a win in the preseason finale. He finally showed some development. When Brian Callahan arrived, he had that big practice, that open practice where fans were in the building over at Nissan Stadium. I thought he finally was taking some steps forward, but since the Titans drafted him, Malik Willis has been kind of labeled as a project, and the Titans right now don't have time for him to continue to develop. So getting something for him as opposed to nothing at the end of the season is fine. And, the 7th round draft pick, while it might not seem like a lot, you look around the NFL and there are linebackers out there getting traded for 6th, 7th round draft picks right now. So maybe that's a little ammunition to go out and find a guy to fill the void that Chance Campbell leaves behind after a torn ACL. So good on Rand Carthon. Look, a 7th round pick is not going to impress anybody, especially after what the Titans gave up to go get Malik Willis in the draft. But it's ammunition, and you could turn that into a linebacker that can contribute this year. So I think it's a good move for both sides. Malik Willis gets some new scenery up in Green Bay, and the Titans get a 7th round draft pick that they could use to move to fill another need on the roster. So
the Titans gave up a 7th round draft pick to the Browns to get Leroy Watson in, and he's about to get cut and not make the team as a backup tackle. So now getting a 7th round draft pick back from the Packers, I think it's a big time win. And I don't know what the Packers are going to do with Malik Willis. I was texting with Wendell, our A to Z Green Bay Packers writer yesterday, and I'm curious to see what the Green Bay Packers fan base and media does with Malik Willis, because I saw one of the main beat reporters in Green Bay be like, wait a second, Malik Willis could be Taysom Hill 2.0. And I'm like, oh, okay, here they go. Like, they're starting from scratch. Like, it's just like how Tennesseans are watching New England Patriots media and fans go through the Joe Milton experiment. Now you get to see what Packers are going to do with Malik Willis, hype with
right
quarterback up there.
And it's a little different, right? Because Malik Willis had a 3rd round label here. So the expectations were a little high. And obviously, John Robinson drafted him to be the successor to Ryan Tannehill. That didn't work out. But now in Green Bay, it's a 7th round label on Malik Willis. So expectations are extremely low. Whatever he gives them would be a bonus. Low pressure, Matt LaFleur, maybe something happens up there, but Jordan Love's got the keys to the car, and the Packers fans should feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, real quick, Pastor Raymond on Facebook says, I'm happy for Malik, fresh start. You don't want to be where you're not wanted. And look, I think everybody can agree Malik Willis handled a really tough situation with grace. He did it with humility. He was never a problem. He didn't ask to be drafted here. That's the caveat. You get drafted where you get drafted, and you have to deal with the situation that you land in. And so I think everybody should be happy for Malik to get a fresh start because it wasn't like he was a disgruntled guy whose dad was on Twitter replying to other media about how things were going wrong with the previous head coach. Because we've seen that situation with the Tennessee Titans with a guy that moved on last year. So I think Malik Willis has done everything the right way aside from, playing quality quarterback. And that's what we're going to dive into here in a second of really who is to blame for this. Because let's remember this, like when Malik Willis was drafted by the Tennessee Titans and John Robinson, when Mike Vrabel was a head coach, Ryan Tannehill had 2 years left on his contract, 2 seasons. It was the 2022 season and last season, 2023. And we all understood that Malik Willis was a project quarterback. That's why he was dropped from the first round of the draft all the way down to pick 86 in the 2022 draft. And so it was going to take time. He was not expected and shouldn't have been expected to play well coming out of Liberty too. And so I think, for Malik's sake, I think it's a big deal that he gets to go and have a fresh start in a place where he's got an opportunity to grow, because in the NFL, third quarterbacks don't get a lot of reps. Backup quarterbacks don't get a lot of reps. That's why a lot of teams like the veteran with a little bit of experience as the backup, because they don't need reps to develop. Backup quarterbacks that need development have to develop their skills outside the facility in the season. And so Malik did that. And then you saw under a short period of time the ability of development that he had under Brian Callahan's coaching staff. And I want to get to that because Brian Callahan was asked about both Malik Willis and Mason Rudolph with their preseason performances yesterday in the press conference before Malik was traded to the Green Bay Packers. But before we get to that conversation from Brian Callahan and asking you guys a big question, do want to remind y'all, DeAndre Hopkins football camp, it's Sunday. And I mentioned this yesterday for the first time. Guys, the prices have been slashed, just like DeAndre Hopkins slashed into the defense. Your son or daughter, ages 9 through 15, can go to DeAndre Hopkins football camp with our code ATOZ20 for a grand total of $43. $43 to go to DeAndre Hopkins football camp, 1:30 to 4, a near 3-hour experience with a future Hall of Fame wide receiver on the Titans field at Nissan Stadium. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And once again, I just posted that link in the chat right there on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So if you haven't signed up yet, you can do it. And I've also been told that 8-year-olds that have football experience, whether it be tackle or flag, can get in there too. So $43 after using the code ATOZ20. They get you 20% off. There's a bunch of add-ons like parent sideline passes and field passes and VIP experience. There's locker room tours that you can add on to that as well. Use code ATOZ20 for 20% off your entire purchase for D-Hop's youth football camp coming up Sunday, September 1st at Nissan Stadium. The link is right there in the chat, so check that out. So, Jack, before we dive into our question, I do want to play this from Brian Callahan yesterday talking about the two quarterbacks, as of course my video did not load earlier. But so now as I wait for the video to upload to the system, which is a bummer. But yeah, I think just to reset here, Malik Willis traded to the Packers for a 7th round pick in 2025. So the Titans get another draft pick for this upcoming draft. And you mentioned it's just a 7th round pick. What could the Titans do with it? Well, there's 2 7th round picks that are looking to make this team and have an impact with Jalen Harrell and James Williams on defense. So Rand Carthon may be proving that he can find some 7th round gems. But here's Brian Callahan on both Malik Willis and Mason Rudolph throughout the preseason.
Malik really showed well for himself in that game. I thought he played well. He put some really nice throws on tape. You still see his athleticism with the ball in his hand. And then Mason just kind of continues to be like the epitome of consistency. And every time he goes in there, the team moves, he completes the ball, and we find success. And it's been really good to see. Both of those guys have competed. I think they've both improved markedly from when we first started in OTAs. And I'm excited about what they've done. And whether that means we keep 3 or we keep 2 and put one on a practice squad, or we just keep 2, we're working through those decisions, over the next 48 hours. And but they've certainly made that decision hard, and that's their job. They make that decision difficult and put something positive enough on tape and make our conversations, we have to really think long and hard about how we're going to handle that. So I'm happy for both those guys for the way they've played and what they've shown.
So, look, I think he's honest about that. I think you should be happy with how Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis looked in the preseason. And it only took 4 hours for the Titans to mull over those decisions before they traded Malik Willis to the Packers for a 7th round pick. Now, Jack, do you think trading Malik was the right move, or would you have rather them cut him to keep him on the practice squad or have him make the 53-man roster overall?
Trading him was absolutely the right move. I mean, there's no question about it. And it's a good, like I mentioned earlier, it's a good situation for Malik Willis to go to. The Titans finally get to move on from him, and they get something in return. Malik Willis is not going to help you. You've got Mason Rudolph. You brought Mason Rudolph in this offseason. Mason Rudolph is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. If something happens to your starter, it's a very short list of players that you would take out there to come in and start a game for you, on short notice. And, Mason Rudolph has a winning record as a starter in the NFL. You saw what he did last year with Pittsburgh. There's just no room for Malik Willis here. And it's the right time for the Titans to move on from him. It was nice that they got that Saints game out of him so they could get some value for him. And, you approach the situation next offseason. What do you want to do with Malik Willis? You want to keep him around? You want to give him another contract? You probably cut bait with him anyway. So it's nice to get at least a 7th-round draft pick. Like I said, inside linebackers, their prices aren't high, especially guys that are going to come off the bench for you and back up Kenneth Murray and Jack Gibbons that we might find out there here in a little bit. We'll see how Rand Carthon tries to solve that problem. But you get something for him. It's an absolute win from Rand Carthon. He does his best to kind of clean up a mistake made by the previous regime. So I'm happy with it. I think it's absolutely the right decision to move on from him. There was no path to him seeing the field in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, Roy says Pittsburgh let him walk, and him meaning Mason Rudolph. Yeah, Pittsburgh let Mason Rudolph walk because, guys, like Justin Fields and Russell Wilson are both making less than Mason Rudolph is this year. Like because of those two specific situations of a trade for a 1st-round pick in Justin Fields that Chicago's paid the majority of that 1st-round pick money to, and then how the situation of Russell Wilson occurred. Like they're paying him like $1 million. Mason Rudolph's getting like $4 million. So the Steelers had an opportunity to get guys who have starting capability on the super cheap, where Mason Rudolph is not a starter in the NFL, but he's a very good backup, like you're saying, Jack. So I think there's different situations. They didn't just let him walk. It was because of the opportunities that presented themselves in Pittsburgh this upcoming year. And Darren adds that Mason Rudolph was the Steelers' best quarterback last year. Yeah, he was. He was better than Kenny Pickett, who they moved on from. So there's a lot of layers to that. But Jack, let's go ahead and get to speaking of layers. There's a lot of layers to this too. So Malik Willis, I think we can all say, was a failed experiment for the Titans at the quarterback position. So I think we're not blaming Malik Willis for this. I don't think that's fair at all. And that's not something that I at least want to do. I don't think if that's something that Jack wants to do either. But we are going to pick who is to blame most. So who do you blame most for the failed Malik Willis Titans quarterback project? Who do you blame the most for this being a failed project? We want all of your opinions in here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also, make sure you hit the like button. That goes a long way for us. So please, please, please hit that like button for us in the chat on Facebook, on YouTube. While you're answering this question, hit that thumbs up. That helps us out quite a bit. So, Jack, there's comments just flying in, flying in. Who is most to blame for the failed Malik Willis Titans quarterback project? What are you seeing here from the chat?
Yeah, let's go to Jael here. Blame JRob on Facebook. We've got Vrabel. Blame the OC. Which one? It's been a revolving door since Malik Willis has been here. Vrabel, Tannehill, Vrabel and staff, Vrabel and Downing, Vrabel, JRob, Hugh Freeze. Okay. JRob, the Philadelphia Eagles. Interesting. COVID. Even more interesting. Vrabel, JRob, JRob, Chris Frazier, JRob, Charles London, Vrabel, the coaches, Vrabel, courtesy just says the Titans, all of them. The prior regime, JRob, Vrabel and staff. A couple more JRobs from Chef and Jay. I'm with them. I'm on team JRob here. Look,
okay.
Malik Willis was an interesting, he was an interesting prospect coming out of college. He led all quarterbacks in the FBS in rushing yards 2 years before he declared. The athleticism was clearly there. He lost the job at Auburn to Bo Nix, which is, no shame in that. But coming out of Hugh Freeze's system, there were a lot of red flags already there that the Titans, I feel like, ignored, which was a common theme in some of JRob's draft failures. So, he never really took a snap under center. You played in a backyard offense that Hugh Freeze runs. And, for as much success as Hugh Freeze has had on offense, it's hard to find a quarterback that's had success in the NFL after playing under Hugh Freeze. Chad Kelly couldn't do it. Bo Wallace obviously was never a guy. You got a couple more guys at Ole Miss who also came up short. And, he still hadn't really produced much outside of Ole Miss. We'll see what he does at Auburn, but I don't think that there's a lot of quarterbacks, right there or right now down there that are going to come out and be NFL stars either. So, Malik Willis was handicapped coming out of college because of the learning curve that he was going to face at the NFL level. It was a risk from JRob. And when you're trying to replace your car, the Titans, like the Tannehill car, it was getting old and rusty. They needed to have a plan to go out and find a new car. Okay, they get younger. They go get the Tesla. The Tesla catches on fire immediately. And you can't afford that. When you're trying to kind of pave the way for a new era, write a new chapter at quarterback for the Titans, you got to go with something a little more sure. Malik Willis was the last thing from a sure thing coming out of that draft class. So John Robinson, he had to find a replacement plan. Unfortunately, Malik Willis wasn't that guy. At the time, it felt like the Titans were getting some value by having Willis kind of slide to the third round, where a lot of people thought he would go much earlier. But it was a risky move, and John Robinson, a bunch of his big gambles never really came through, and Malik Willis was one of the last ones that he made that didn't really pan out. So I think JRob's completely to blame. Malik Willis not to blame. Malik Willis is who Malik Willis is. The Titans' evaluations were off, and it happens. But John Robinson, yeah, he's the guy to blame for me.
So I disagree. I do not think John Robinson is most to blame here at all, because I think the way John Robinson phrased the Malik Willis draft pick, as you remember, he said, this is a lottery pick. This is a lottery ticket. It is a roll the dice situation, because the Titans had 2 third-round picks in that draft. They took Nicholas Petit-Frere with the first third-round pick, and then they got Malik Willis with the second third-round pick. And he said after that draft in press conferences, we didn't expect Malik to be there. And when you have a quarterback that's got a lot of physical upside to be there, and it's the 86th pick, and you just got to tackle with a pick of 10 picks before, then why not? Why not roll the dice on him? Because if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, okay. And so I don't blame John Robinson for making the draft pick at all. Do I think it put some, he's not nearly most to blame. I would put him no higher than third to blame. Mm-hmm. I do think JRob was a little bit cocky still. And I heard Kayla Anderson say this on The Zone this morning, is that Jeffrey Simmons' draft pick working out gave John Robinson a lot of confidence in taking draft picks with high upside that had immediate risks and doing it more, right? It's, that worked out with Jeffrey Simmons on the torn ACL, right? Fell to 19, all-pro player, boom. And then you have the next year, Isaiah Wilson. That didn't work out. The next year, Caleb Farley. That didn't work out. The next year, trading A.J. Brown to get Treylon Burks. That didn't work out. And then you have Malik Willis, another one later on in that draft that didn't work out either. And so I think JRob is no higher than third in this vote. And I also think Malik Willis is below JRob and all that. So I am blaming most for the failed Malik Willis Titans quarterback project on the former head coach, Mike Vrabel. Because I think Mike Vrabel is why Malik Willis did not get as much development as he should have. Because look at how much Malik has developed in working with Brian Callahan and his staff for 5 months. Like, they get into the building in April to start working with their new coaching staff. And he is tradable for a 7th round pick this year. Like, I could see like a 2026 pick for Malik Willis, but no, we're talking like a 7th round pick this year. They, like, Brian Callahan and staff made Malik Willis tradable in 5 months of work. That is impressive. And I said this last week, that should make you feel even more confident in Will Levis's ability to get developed. because let's look at what Mike Vrabel didn't do surrounding Malik Willis, because I think you can put Mike Vrabel and Hugh Freeze in a similar bucket. Hugh Freeze was using Malik Willis's raw ability to leave Liberty to go back to the SEC to get the Auburn head coaching job. Mike Vrabel's job as the Titans head coach was to win football games, and Malik Willis's ability was not going to allow Mike Vrabel to win football games in the NFL. That's why he went and got Josh Dobbs. But I'm also looking at the coaching staff that Mike Vrabel put together, because the quarterbacks coach for the longest of times for the Titans under Mike Vrabel was Pat O'Hara. And then in the last year of the Vrabel era, Pat O'Hara, demoted, shift of responsibility, whatever, went from quarterbacks coach to an offensive assistant, like analyst job. And they brought in Charles London as the quarterbacks coach. But Pat O'Hara as a quarterbacks coach, Jack, the last time Pat O'Hara coached quarterbacks as a position-specific job before joining the Titans, get this, was at New Smyrna Beach High School in 1998 through 2000.
New Smyrna Beach, that's shark bite capital of the world right there.
Yeah, sure. That's
right.
Sure. But Pat O'Hara, and this is not a shot at Pat O'Hara, but he was an offensive coordinator for a high school. Then he was an offensive coordinator and head coach in arena football. Then he was an offensive assistant with Vrabel in Houston, and then got the quarterback's job in 2018 and held that spot for 5 years. Then he got demoted or shifted, whatever, to a pass game analyst, not even a coach, an analyst the last year. And then they brought in Charles London to be the quarterback's coach last year, who is a running back coach by trade, who was an offensive coordinator to be grooming in Charles London. I think Charles London's a good football coach, but he's not a quarterback guy. Now, we know that. Let's go back and look at the offensive coordinators under Mike Vrabel, because we all know Mike Vrabel isn't an offensive-minded head coach too. So the offensive coordinators under Vrabel were Matt LaFleur for 1 year, not with Malik Willis, Arthur Smith, tight end / O-line guy. And then you get where Malik Willis had Todd Downing, tight ends coach, and then Tim Kelly, tight ends coach. So where's the quarterback developer on the staff? There wasn't one. They had Ryan Tannehill. Mike Vrabel didn't think he needed a quarterback developer on the staff because they had 33 and 34-year-old Ryan Tannehill, but that's what failed and stunted Malik Willis's growth, is the fact that they didn't have a quarterback developer for the 2 years that Malik was around at all. Not even one on the staff that could even be counted as a QB developer. And how many quarterback developers do they have right now? 2. Brian Callahan and Bo Hardigree.
So I'm going to push back on the Vrabel blame, and here's why. Because Malik Willis was drafted in 2022. Well, what did the Titans do the year before? They went 12-5, right? So Mike Vrabel's job at that time was to continue to try and push for, an AFC title, AFC South titles, playoff wins. Malik Willis's development was not his first priority. He had Ryan Tannehill coming off a tremendous 2021 season, by the way. So, the amount of attention that was needed to develop Malik Willis wasn't necessarily in line with what Vrabel's staff was trying to accomplish, which was win playoff games. So I think that, the development of a quarterback, which needed a lot of attention and a lot of work like Malik Willis did coming out of college, wasn't necessarily available because the Titans' goals at that time weren't necessarily to turn the page, right? It was to continue to win with Ryan Tannehill. And so that's why I don't blame Vrabel as much. And, Vrabel, he can't decide to, bring in different coaches right after the Titans make an interesting draft pick in the 3rd round.
But
the objective was still to win games.
I don't
Malik
disagree.
Willis wasn't going to help you win games immediately with Ryan Tannehill
I said that.
on the roster.
I absolutely agree. I said that early. Like, Mike Vrabel's job was to win NFL games, and Malik Willis wasn't going to let him do that. That's why they brought in Josh Dobbs, and that's why they drafted Will Levis, because they thought Will Levis was more ready to play than Malik. The whole idea for Malik Willis is can he be ready in 2024? The answer is no. And so I think why I still blame, because we're not talking about why did Mike Vrabel fail as a head coach. We're talking about why did Malik Willis's project as a Titans
quarterback fail.
It was a bad fit. And again, I still think it's crazy that an NFL team doesn't have a quarterback developer on the coaching staff. Like, I don't care who your quarterback is. You got to have some guy who is on the coaching staff that talks quarterback language, right? That is a quarterback developer, because that's the most important thing in the damn sport. And the Titans went so many years without having a qualified NFL quarterback coach. Pat O'Hara served the office space for 5 years, but you can argue the qualified ability of Pat O'Hara as an NFL quarterbacks coach. I think that is the big problem, and why the Titans flamed out like they did under Vrabel is because they didn't protect their quarterback enough with the coaching staff, the offensive line, the scheme, everything.
And JRob says it was coaching, Jack. And I want to ask you this. Even with the best offensive staff in the NFL, what does Malik Willis become? What does he become?
Tradable.
Well, I mean, a starter? Probably not.
No.
So that's why I'm not blaming the coaching staff. You know, like the player has a lot of work to do in order to become a viable and even a valuable member of an NFL team, even as a backup. So I'm not going to put all the blame on a coaching staff for not being able to develop Malik Willis into a starting quarterback.
So you still think it's JRob's most?
Yeah, but because even if you squeeze every last drop of juice out of Malik Willis's orange, you know, he's not a starting quarterback in this league. So that's why you can only blame the coaching staff so much. They had to deal with a player that wasn't capable of starting games in the NFL at his position. So it was an impossible job for Vrabel.
All right, so you just said that Malik is not capable of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. I agree, right? But we could have said before this summer that Malik Willis is not a rosterable quarterback in the NFL. And they've been like, yeah, that makes sense. Again, I think what we've seen with an actual coaching staff that knows how to coach quarterbacks, we have seen Malik Willis going from a unrosterable quarterback in the league to a tradable quarterback in the league in 5 months. That's what I'm looking at, is in the big glaring hole of Vrabel's staff and what in 5 months Brian Callahan, Nick Holtz, and Bo Hardigree, two of which are quarterback guys, not Nick Holtz, can do for Malik Willis and what that means for Will Levis as well. So that is where I put up a YouTube poll on this, and man, are the results spicy. And I created 4 options for this question on the YouTube poll. We'll go through all those here in a second. But first, I want to tell everybody about our great friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans. Make sure that you go to Farm Bureau Health Plans to help you out with all of your health coverage needs. They can help save you money every month on your health coverage, but actually get you better coverage. Like they saved Zach Bingham 20% on his health coverage. He was then able to go to the dentist and not have to pay out of pocket twice per year. He had his contacts covered with his vision coverage as well. So make sure with Farm Bureau Health Plan, you can take whatever your situation may be, single, independent contractor, entrepreneur, going forward to growing family, to empty nested family. Farm Bureau Health Plans can literally do it all for you. So check them out and use our link to get a quote, fbhp.com/ATOZ. They've been in Tennessee and been growing in Tennessee and helping Tennesseans for 78 years. So get a quote today using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Football is back, people. Now is the time to get some skin in the game. If you want to do that, download BetMGM. You can use our bonus code A2Z Sports when you sign up to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. I hope nobody was on Florida State last week, but if you were, you get all those bonus bets back when your first bet loses. If that was your first bet after signing up, you're still in good shape. Hey, if you haven't signed up yet and you missed your first one on Saturday, you'll be okay. Just use our bonus code A2Z Sports when you sign up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Take advantage of this before football season really gets going.
All right, so here we are. We're talking about Malik Willis. I think it's a failed project. The fact that they traded him to the Green Bay Packers, as we knew Malik Willis was not going to be the Titans' backup quarterback. It was going to go to Mason Rudolph. So I think it's a failed project here. Who is most to blame for that failed project? I put this up on our YouTube poll, and I gave 4 options. Who do you blame most for the failed Malik Willis Titans quarterback project? I put John Robinson, Mike Vrabel, Malik Willis, and Hugh Freeze, because I think those are the 4 pillars to go to. Because if you're blaming somebody else on the Titans coaching staff, that I think follows under Mike Vrabel, because Mike Vrabel hired that. If you're blaming anybody else, then I just don't know if it's a top 4 option. So, Jack, do you want to take a guess at who the leader of the poll is on YouTube between John Robinson, Mike Vrabel, Hugh Freeze, and Malik Willis?
Man, the chat makes me believe that JRob is slightly ahead of Vrabel in this, like 55-45, even though there's 4 options. What's it looking like?
So it started off mostly JRob early, but currently Mike Vrabel leads the poll with 41% of the votes. John Robinson has 34% of the votes. In third, Malik Willis has 16% of the votes, and Hugh Freeze with only 9%.
So if you're voting Malik Willis, why are you voting Malik? Like, is it because you don't believe he worked hard enough? I don't understand how you can blame Malik Willis here. I mean, it was a situation that was nasty to come into.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would love to have, like, if there was a explain or show your work type of box in the poll, like people who blame Malik, why? And Jimmy says because he's not good. But, like, he was drafted here. Like, I guess if because he's not good, like, then that means that the coach and the GM drafted a bad player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, can you blame Caleb Farley? No. I mean, that's just the worst situation ever, right? It just was the almost. Are you blaming Chance Campbell? No, he's gotten hurt all 3 years. That sucks. Like, it's not like they want to. It's not like Malik Willis wants to not be good. And so I don't know how you can blame Malik.
Yeah, and JQ says, he's made horrible decisions, inaccurate throws. He's not clean in this. He's not free of blame in all of this. Sure, but like you knew when you drafted him that like these things needed work. He did not come into the NFL as a finished product. If he did, then maybe you could blame Malik Willis for regression. But Malik Willis had a lot of work to do when he got drafted. And, taking backup reps in practice, he did not have a full allotment of reps to really take significant strides early on. When Brian Callahan came in, obviously things changed, even though he was still third on the pecking order. But Malik Willis worked hard, and more than anything, he kept a pretty good attitude over there when a lot of people probably wouldn't have. So, like you said earlier, I think Malik Willis handled the situation, which was not favorable for him, in a fantastic way, very professional way.
Yep.
I'm pulling for Malik Willis to have success wherever he ends up, but it just wasn't going to work in Tennessee, and the Titans had to cut bait and move on.
So, Jack, I wouldn't blame John Robinson second. I blame Mike Vrabel first. I blame his college head coach, Hugh Freeze, second, because Hugh Freeze did nothing to prepare Malik Willis for professional football. Nothing. It was, if your first read's there, throw it. If it's not, run. Because that's how Hugh Freeze can win games at Liberty and get the Auburn head coaching job. And you went through as an Ole Miss grad. Were you in college when Hugh Freeze was there?
Oh, yeah. I was in college first 2 years. We beat Alabama twice.
Yeah, it was a great time while it lasted. But, like, you went through the list of quarterbacks. Like, you could, I think, does Malik Willis have the most NFL starts of Hugh Freeze quarterbacks?
I don't know how many Chad Kelly has. Chad Kelly's the best quarterback that Hugh Freeze coached.
No, NFL.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know how many starts that Chad Kelly had, if he had any at all. So
I mean, because keep going through the other quarterbacks. So that I want to bring this up. I want to figure this out.
It was Bo Wallace. You had Chad Kelly.
Nothing. Chad Kelly, 0 NFL stats.
I want to say Hugh Freeze recruited Te'amu, but I don't know if he ever coached him.
0 NFL stats.
Yeah, right. And then obviously Malik Willis, Caden Salter, I guess you could throw into that mix as well. He's probably going to have a good year, but just like Malik Willis, is he going to have the tools coming out of Liberty? Who knows? So, so Hugh Freeze has never really had an NFL caliber quarterback. And I get it. I understand why people want to blame Hugh Freeze, but at the same time, just like Mike Vrabel in 2022, Hugh Freeze's job wasn't necessarily to develop Malik Willis into an NFL caliber player. It was to win games at Liberty. Liberty was his bounce back job. That was his save face job, right? That's probably the only place in the country that would take him at the time. And that's not where Hugh Freeze wanted to be. He wanted to get back in the SEC. He knew that winning was the only way to do it.
But that's selfish coaching. And you don't.
Hugh Freeze is a very selfish man. I don't know if he followed his actions over the last decade.
Absolutely. And that's why I don't like Hugh Freeze. And I will never like Hugh Freeze. I don't see me really ever switching up on that because you get into coaching for what? To coach players, to help players improve. Coaches like to see their players succeed, work, get better, have success after failure. Hugh Freeze is in it for him. And so I think that is why I don't like Hugh Freeze, is because he is a self-serving coach, and that's not the coach that anybody wants to play for. And so that's why I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to get top quarterback recruits to go play for Auburn.
But so don't you know that though? If you're John Robinson, don't you know that about Hugh Freeze? And don't you know that about that system? But
you at least look at the traits of Malik Willis and say, this guy, because the NFL was like very intrigued by Malik Willis, right? And so I think that's where it's at the 86th pick on a quarterback. Like, who cares? Like, that's why I don't blame John Robinson as much as others, because he was a second, third round pick of that class. It's an 86th pick on a quarterback. Why not take a flyer? Because if it works out, you're the smartest guy in the room. If it doesn't work out, okay, then you wasted your second, third round pick on a quarterback that didn't turn out. It's a big reward, low risk type of move. You just got a lot of pub locally.
And like you said about what Kayla said this morning on 104.5, Kayla, fantastic, by the way. It's like JRob, went to the gas station, was playing the lottery, won $100 on a scratcher. So what does he do for the next month? Every single day, he goes back to that gas station and buys lottery tickets. It's not a long-term plan for success, drafting players with red flags and drafting players who need a little work coming into this league, especially at the quarterback position. And JRob asks, JRob says, I should say, developing your picks is the job of your head coach. It's part of the responsibility every year. Mm-hmm. It is. Like, head coaches have multiple jobs, but their first job, and Vrabel's first job, was to win football games. And he had built a team that was capable of winning in the playoffs. Heading into that 2022 season, injuries derailed the season. A lot of guys didn't play up to their potential, and the team fell flat on its face and haven't really been able to pull themselves off the mat since. We'll see how they manage this year. I have faith. But Malik Willis was never going to develop with Mike Vrabel's philosophy back there. So it was a bad fit to start. And look, we can all be happy to put a bow on this thing and wish him well as he moves on to Green Bay. The Titans got a 7th round pick from him, so it's a small win.
All right, so let's get through some super chats before we get to the next conversation here. Andre says, can Titans go ahead and ship Burks out of here too? Keep purging the JRob mistakes. Rather keep Oliver, who is showing promise, rather than a 5th wide receiver we won't re-sign. No, like Traylon Burks isn't going anywhere. Andre, again, one of the worst coaching staff in the league, incompetent across the board. They absolutely played a major role in Malik's failure, whole team improving now. I mean, I think there's something to that for Andre.
They played a role for sure. No, there's no doubt they played a role. I just don't think that the coaching staff was the most to blame.
Jeffrey says, easy to blame Willis. Doesn't matter where you are picked. It's what you do with the opportunity and the work you put in. Pick 199, Tom Brady 12, put in the work. Okay. I mean, you're going to compare Malik Willis, pick 86, to Tom Brady, pick 199. Like, I think thank you for the super chat. But like
Malik Willis, work.
Yes.
He went out and got it. He had a quarterback coach that helped him in the offseason. Like, he was grinding all the time. Like, it wasn't, but Malik Willis didn't fail here because he didn't work hard enough. Malik Willis just didn't have the skill set required to start in the NFL at quarterback.
In my opinion, Mike Vrabel's coaching staff is the reason why Malik Willis was not ready to be the second quarterback in 2024. That's my opinion. All right. So Kicker the King says, with Malik gone, Trey Avery now needs to go. Farley and Guerra over him any day, and see if Titans can nab a late pick for Burks. He's wide receiver 5 after seeing him. So I don't know if Andre and Kicker the King are the same person with 2 accounts, but Kicker the King does kind of switch us up to our next conversation, because we want to ask you guys, This question here, who do you think will be the biggest surprise Titans roster cut today? Who do you think will be the biggest surprise Titans roster cut today? We'll get to your thoughts on that. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your injury needs. Whenever an injury pops up in life, which happens, you have to know where to go to and who to trust. That's the Bone and Joint Institute. boneandjointtn.org is their website. So easy to book an appointment because you go on there, you click make an appointment, you say, knee injury. And then it sorts the doctors and the schedules that best fit your schedules that deal with that knee injury. So check them out online, just like I have done in the past, whether it's my knee, my foot, my shoulder a few years ago as well. boneandjointtn.org in Franklin off I-65 and Highway 96, right next to Williams Medical Center. Once again, boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM.com. Stay tuned to A to Z Sports Socials. We're going to have a little bet heading out here in a day or two. Futures in the NFL, keep an eye on them. Go ahead and scroll through them. There's player props up there for the season. Will Levis's passing yards is low, people. It's low. Go get it. Download BetMGM. Use our bonus code A to Z Sports, and you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. College football, NFL, MLB, no matter what you want to bet on, it's all up there. It's all easy to navigate. And there's odds boosts. There's parlay selection features, live betting options. BetMGM has it all. So download the app on your phone and use our bonus code A to Z Sports when you sign up.
All right, Jack, I'm not doing live math, but actually I will. There's 6 hours before roster cuts are going to be made official across the NFL. So who will be the biggest surprise Titans roster cut today, as they have 6 hours left to get it going? So, Jack, I'll send you to the chat what everybody's saying.
Okay, let's start off at the top here. We've got Avery literally plays ahead of both of those. Okay, maybe that was the wrong one. We've got kicker, Nick Folk. Nick Folk says Travion. Okay, Narvison, he showed some things in preseason. Mason Kinsey, Chance Campbell cannot be cut. He's on IR. Traylon Burks from Curtis. Julius Chestnut, Bryce Oliver, Kyle Phillips, Bryce Oliver, Trey Avery. We got Rashad Weaver from Demetrius. That's an interesting answer. We've got Avery, Rashad Weaver, Chestnut, Rashad Weaver. Another trade, maybe not a cut, but a trade. Traylon Burks on the way out.
They're not going to trade Traylon Burks.
Rashad Weaver. Please cut Trey Avery. We've got more Trey Avery and Julius Chestnut. Austin, 3 or 4 running backs. What are you expecting?
4.
Mm-hmm.
Chance Campbell's injury, I think, locks in, just as King Beastie says, lock in like the show. I think Chance Campbell's injury gives Hassan Haskins a roster spot.
Okay, we've got Vanett, Chestnut, Burks, Vanett again, Chestnut, Haskins. All right, my answer, and today, I don't know that we're going to see a lot of surprise cuts. Like with the injuries that have happened, you kind of feel pretty good about 50 of the 53. There's a couple spots obviously still up for grabs. But my surprise cut, and it might be a surprise keep in return as well. I agree with some of the chat. I think that Trey Avery's played his last down with the Tennessee Titans. I think that's a player that they can move on from and feel okay about it. And with cutting Trey Avery, I think that opens up the door for Caleb Farley to possibly crack the roster. I'm hopeful that Caleb Farley can do it. And when you look at his cap hit, it's $4.29 million. That's a lot of money to send packing. And I really loved what he did on Sunday. I loved that play on special teams where he came down and decapitated the Saints return man. I was excited by that. I think that's a shot in the arm for Caleb Farley's confidence. And, Trey Avery's just a guy who's had plenty of opportunity here, but has really struggled to earn the confidence of any coaching staff and certainly any fan. So, Trey Avery, I think, is the surprise cut today, if you want to call that a surprise, but it's more so a surprise keep. I think Caleb Farley squeaks through here, slips through the cracks, and potentially gets on this 53-man. We'll see, but Trey Avery is out in my opinion.
That would be the surprise. We're asking the surprise, right? I think, Malik did enough on Sunday against the Saints to be tradable. Caleb Farley, that big hit makes him more tradable than he's ever been, right? Because you saw him, how important it was for him to come back healthy after missing multiple weeks with a hamstring injury and then go out there and make a play on special teams. if the Titans can convince another team to give them a draft pick, I don't care if it's 2027. If they can convince another team to give them a draft pick for Caleb Farley, do it. And Tavares says Caleb is a safety, though. No, he's not. He's not a defensive player. He's not an offensive player. I mean, the only thing he is at this point is a special teams player. And he can't move like he used to. That's the truth. And it sucks because he's been hurt so many times, but he can't move. And so if you can do it, trade him. I don't think there's a way you can keep him on the team. I think you would put him on. You can't put him on into reserve because he came back and played.
No,
so that's
he's
the
healthy.
bummer. This is a tough, biggest surprise is honestly really, really hard. Because injuries have made some things fairly obvious. But my surprise cut, if I have to do one, is Rashad Weaver.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think Trey Avery's on the team. I think Rashad Weaver is going to make the team. But I would like to see the Titans churn both of those guys with waiver claims or other additions to the team. So I think if Rashad Weaver and Trey Avery both make the team, I'm curious to see how long they last. So I will answer the question with Rashad Weaver.
Right. And it's important to remember that this 53 man that we're going to see around 3:00 today is not going to be the 53 probably heading out in week 1. Rand Carthon's probably going to look for some solutions at different spots elsewhere. And with massive cuts coming today, he's going to have a big pool of players to choose from at certain spots, like inside linebacker, potentially like cornerback, maybe bring a veteran in on the low. So yeah, look, a lot to monitor here today. This 53 man though is probably not going to be the 53 they roll into Chicago with. But Jalen Harrell has really impressed me throughout this whole process, and that does not help Rashad Weaver's chances here.
Mm-hmm.
I like you. I still think Rashad Weaver probably makes it, but Jalen Harrell is a player that I'm really intrigued in moving forward to see what they can kind of get out of him in his rookie season. A 7th round gem potentially in Jalen Harrell.
Yep. All right, Jack, it is time to wrap up this show because there's now 5 hours and 57 minutes until rosters will be official. We've got some shade. So if you have shade to throw your shade now. Get it off your chest here to wrap up this Tuesday. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see our friend Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon. Save some money. Don't buy downtown prices. Wilson County Hyundai is where to go in Lebanon. wilsoncountyhyundai.com is their website. So, Jack, I'll send you the chat. If you have any shade to throw from the chat, go ahead and do it. While you look for it, Kick It King asked for the super chat. Austin, explain why trading Burks is crazy. All right, that's fair. The last 2 years, the Tennessee Titans have had zero depth at wide receiver because guys keep getting hurt. Right? Now you have depth. Why would you trade away your depth? Especially as DeAndre Hopkins is still recovering from an injury. So don't trade your depth because if D-Hop, who's been out for the last 4 weeks, can't play week 1, then Treylon Burks is a starter. You're not trading a starter or a key depth piece at this point. You traded Malik Willis yesterday because he wasn't going to make your 53-man roster. So you're not going to trade away Treylon Burks. That would be not smart. So now, Jack, you can get to some shade. Now we got the super chats out of the way.
John says shade on businesses not having enough paternity leave. Okay, that's a fair shade. We've got shade on JRob till the end of time for trading AJ. Got to let that hate go. Caps, we got to move on. I know it hurts. It hurts everybody. Every time I hear his name, it hurts. Dimitri says shade on grown men hating on female athletes, especially WNBA players. That's kind of part of relevancy, though, in sports, right? I mean, people are going to love you. People are going to hate you in the WNBA. It's good to feel one way or another about players in the WNBA when I think a lot of people have been indifferent towards that league over, the last however long it's been alive. So WNBA is growing. That's going to be part of it. It is sad, but yeah, it comes with the territory. Shade on me for catching COVID last week for the first time. Oof. Man, right before football season too. That's bad timing, Derek. Hopefully you can get ready for week 1. Let's see, scrolling for some more shade here. Throwing shade at my job. They're worse than Willis's development. All right, that's pretty funny from Jael there. I hope I'm saying that right. Shade. Vrabel's and his incompetent coaching staff for not developing Malik at all, causing him to get bashed by fans. Okay, Patrick Bird shading the past coaching staff. I think they're worthy of some shade. Shade on Vrabel's bad staff members. Shade on men playing women's sports. All right. Shade on. I've been pulling up some things I probably shouldn't have. Shade on all these little fluffy. Okay. Oh my gosh, guys. All right. I'm just gonna go to my shade before.
Yeah, Jack is Ron Burgundy. Ron Burgundy.
Put it on the teleprompter. I'm gonna read it. Okay. My shade. So it's fantasy draft season, Austin. I have my first draft tonight. I know you're not a big fantasy guy, but I've got shade going out to everybody that plays fantasy that is just addicted to the rankings. You draft whoever the rankings tell you to. You got to go outside the box. Have your own opinions. Don't trust the ratings that you're seeing on the app. It never plays out that way. It never plays out the way that these fantasy experts believe. Go with your gut in fantasy drafts. Do not just take a guy because he's at the top of the cheat sheet. Okay, you know, have some individual opinions, have some thoughts, and do your own research. Don't just rely on the little write-up you see on the draft board. Head in with a plan. Okay, you'll have success in fantasy if you head in with a plan and don't trust the rankings. Go off schedule. Going off schedule, you'll be just fine. I promise you. I hate people who I don't hate them, but I am annoyed by them. Yeah, but I just feel like it's super lazy to go in and just go by the ratings that on whatever app you're using to draft. So that's my shade. People who stick to the rankings, till their death. So that's
you
what I'm
hate when people do not.
Yes. I love all people. I love everybody. Everybody's great.
Oh man. Andre says shade on Austin for not letting go of the failed experience that is Traylon Burks. I mean, I don't know what you want me to do with that. Okay, so my shade is on the car wash attendant that won't let it go, that you don't want to sign up for a monthly membership for unlimited washing. I know that it might just be $5 to $10 more than the wash I'm currently getting right now, but I don't want to pay every month a recurring fee for unlimited car washes because I don't need unlimited car washes. I don't need one car wash a month. So I respect what you're trying to do. But when I say I don't need unlimited car washes or I'm not interested in it, just let me go. Let me roll my window back up and go through the track and make sure that I'm on the right spot and wave me left or right. I don't need a full sales pitch with a damn media kit deck to say, this is why you should sign up for unlimited because you're paying $27 now. I'll just waive next month's fee if you – I don't want it. I'm not interested. That's I don't get car washes that often, and I don't need unlimited car washes, and that's just the truth. So
how often is it? How acceptable? I guess I should phrase it this way: how often do you get a car wash? What's the right amount of time in between washes?
I mean, it's just case by case. But I don't know.
Sure.
I usually get a full inside outside car wash every time that we get an oil change or something, which is maybe every 3-ish months. So
you get an oil change every 3 months?
Well, it depends on the miles and we have 2 cars, right? So if I'm not going to you can only get unlimited car washes for one car because it's not for both cars. So I'm not going to get both cars washed every month and now have to pay $70 a month for unlimited car washes. No, I don't need that.
I just don't need a family plan over that. That'd be a good idea. Institute a little family plan over the car wash. Bring in multiple cars to get them washed. Maybe that would work.
One car parks in the garage, one car parks outside, and the car that's outside doesn't have a tree over it. If there was a tree over it, they kept dumping bird poop or pollen or stuff, then maybe. But I don't need a car wash every month. So when you ask me, I'm going to say respectfully, no, I'm not interested. But then just let me go. Just let me go through the car wash. That's all I want.
Andre says 3 months for an oil change is about right. Do not go 7,500 to 10,000 miles. It'll kill your engine jack. Andre, that's great advice. We don't have an office, so I'm not in my car a whole lot.
Yeah,
I don't have to commute. So I definitely push it closer to probably a year, but that's just what I do because I'm not in my car a whole lot. So
every 5K,
something about me.
Every 5,000 to 6,000 miles, good for a car oil change, right? So however fast it takes you to do that. So. That's my shade. But anyway, that's it for us. The Titans are making moves later today. They have 28 more roster decisions to make. So make sure that you stay tuned to A to Z Sports. Sam has his roster cut tracker article out there. It's all over our social. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Wednesday where we have the official 53-man roster. Like the show before you go. Hit that like button. Like it, please. It goes a long way for us on Facebook and on YouTube. And we'll catch you guys on a Wednesday morning. Buck Rising, we're reacting first to the 53-man roster tonight. A to Z Sports Primetime at 7. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow around 8. Appreciate it as always.
Tight Up Pod out at midnight.